Namaste. Welcome, everybody. Our practice today is called Hammocks and Rainbows. And I'm conceptualizing these images to convey what the body is doing in a physical sense and also in a symbolic sense. So, just a couple of quick things to know about the hammocks and the rainbows. So, when we move the spine forward and backward, we are moving it into flexion and extension. So, flexion is when we are rounding the spine forward at the top and at the base. So, the sitting bones and the tailbone are curling under, and the top of the spine at the neck and the head are curling under toward each other to make an arch around the top. So, this is what we commonly call, when we're doing it from table pose, a cat pose. And then when we flip the spine into extension, here's the sitting bones and the tailbone angling upward slightly. The belly is coming down and the top of the spine is coming up in the other direction. So this is known as extension, also sort of like a back bend. We commonly call this cow pose. So I'm calling this a rainbow and a hammock. So the rainbow opens up the back of the body and imagines that light is pouring down through us. And the hammock imagines that our spine itself is making a grounded cradle for us to curl up in. So we are not the hammock. Our body is the hammock, and it is beckoning us to settle in, to be weighted and anchored on both ends, and to be welcoming at the center. All right. So that's how it will go, and we'll approach these shapes a few in a few different ways, from standing, and then from kneeling and lunging, and from table pose, and then from down on the belly, and finally from seated. So let's get started. Come and stand on your mat and situate so that your feet are coming straight down from the center of your hips and maybe a little wider. So, however you're comfortable, some people are comfortable with feet right next to each other, some people are comfortable with the feet a little bit wider, and some right in the middle between those two range, that full range. And so, with the feet rooted down, just come to an awareness of your breath. Bring your palms together at your heart. And you can close your eyes and tune into your inhales and to your exhales. And notice the flow of the easy breath. We know that the moment we pay attention to anything, it changes, but we can we can notice without efforting into the change. We can just be a gentle witness to the way the breath moves through us. And we can equate that gentle movement of breath flowing through us to a sense of grace and maybe some mystery and a whole lot of gratitude. Good. And now inhale and reach up nice and tall, lifting up through the pinkies, lifting up through the elbows, lifting up through the center of the chest. And then exhale and cascade the spine forward all the way down as far as it will go. And I'm going to turn a little bit to the side so you can get a better view of the spine. And then hang the head for a moment and bend your knees and lift the mid spine up toward the ceiling. And here we go into our first rainbow. So there's a sense of lightness, of buoyant freedom at the mid spine rising up. And you can imagine that the full spectrum of color is pouring through and being reflected from the light that's above. Stay here for another breath. And then on the next inhale, bend the knees a little more and lift the sitting bones up behind you like you're lifting your tail, and lift the shoulders and climb the shoulder blades up on top of your back. And here we are into the first hammock. So you can imagine that your spine is creating a cradle that is anchored at the base from the sitting bones down to the floor, moving through the legs, and also from the edges of the shoulder blades into the shoulder joints, dropping down through the arms. So those would be like the two poles of the hammock, holding the netting of your spinal structure in a way that allows a cradle to be formed for the rest of you to rest in with ease. And then exhale again, lifting the mid spine up, tucking the sitting bones, dropping the head into the rainbow. And then inhale, flip the spine again into the hammock. And then on the next breath, as you exhale, just let the spine dangle down. And if you have any concerns about the bones in your spine with osteopenia or osteoporosis, then always make sure that when you're folding forward, you are supporting the weight of your spine through your hands braced on something. So hands resting on something, whether it's your legs, your thighs, or some blocks. And then on the next inhale, press into the feet, rise up. Inhale, reach tall, and exhale, hands to the heart. And now I'm going to turn a little bit again so you can see me from the side. On the next inhale, lift your arms up and tip backwards a little bit with the shoulders, lifting the chest, sending the light of the heart upward. And pause here, rooting down through the base of the pelvis into your legs. And here we are in a hammock shape, but the hammock has been turned on its end. Nevertheless, it is still anchored at the base of the pelvis, rooting down through your legs, and at the top of the spine, strong in the shoulder blades, extending up through the arms. And now on your exhale, shift the spine into the rainbow shape and imagine that there is light pouring down from behind you, being reflected through the full spectrum of color. And then inhale, go back into the hammock, lifting up. If you experience any pain in your lower back, bend your knees a little bit, root down more through the legs, and don't lean back quite as far. And then exhale, rounding, forming a rainbow shape with the spine, allowing the sense of light to pour down from above and behind you. And then exhale and come back to center, hands together at the heart. And so again, inhale, reach up, and exhale, fold forward. Bend the knees, rest the hands somewhere, and inhale, make the shape of the hammock, and exhale, make the shape of the rainbow, and continue flowing back and forth between these two shapes. On your next exhale, fold forward, root into the feet, hang your head, let your spine cascade all the way from the tailbone through the entire range of vertebrae to the base of your neck, and hang your head. And then bend the knees again, rooting into the feet. Inhale, reach all the way up, lifting through the pinkies and the elbows, and then hands back together at the heart. And now turn so you're facing the long side of your mat. Your feet spread nice and wide. Right? And now turn so your feet are out to one side. So the first foot you turn it out 90 degrees, and then take the other heel and inch it a little bit away from center. And now bend into the first leg that you turned. so that the knee is standing above its own ankle. And then lean over and reach your arm up and over the side of your head. So we're in side angle pose. And now we're going to make some undulations of the spine to reflect the shapes of the rainbow, curling around, letting in light from behind, and the hammock, arching forward, allowing the mid spine to act as if it could move forward through the front of your rib cage and the heart to open up. And now we can add even more of a hammock shape by tipping backwards into a reverse warrior. And then go forward again, lay your elbow on your thigh, reach the top arm over your head, and round the spine like a rainbow. And go back and forth between these two movements. Follow your easy flowing breath. You don't have to do too much emphasis on the breath, just enough so that you remember it's there and you let it move through you. And the breath can be a symbol of a searchlight inside you, looking for places of tension and offering assistance towards ease. Back and forth, inhaling and exhaling, creating rainbows to let in light, and creating hammocks to offer a cradle of support. And then back up to center. Pause here for a moment in a neutral spine for warrior pose. Deep breath in. Exhale, release. Straighten up the first leg and turn to the other side. And so now we bend the knee and lean over onto the elbow, resting on the thigh. And take the other arm and take it over above the side of your head, reaching out through the pinky, rooting down through the outer edge of the back foot so you get a firm stance on the back leg. And now exhale as you add the rainbow, rounding the spine, exhaling the breath. Inhale as you add the hammock, and then come up and sweep the front arm over and reach it behind you, emphasizing the extension of the spine, the arch, the lift and openness of the heart. And then back and forth. Let your breath be the primary guide for every movement that you make. Let it be a reminder of your vitality, a reminder of your strength and courage, a reminder of your capacity to take skillful action in the face of whatever circumstance arises. And then one more time, reaching back and leaning forward at the side angle. And then come back up to a neutral spine for warrior pose. And breathe. And then straighten the front leg. And come back to your wide-footed stance with the feet parallel to each other. All of your toes pointing forward. Sometimes if you take the heels a little bit wider than they naturally land, then you'll get the feet parallel and it might feel like your toes are actually turned in. But then when you look down, you think, they're straight forward. And so from here, bend the knees a little bit and fold forward some, and then rest your hands somewhere on your legs. Upper thighs, right above the knee, right below the knee, further down the shin. It doesn't matter. Somewhere that's comfortable. And now on an exhale, make a rainbow with your spine. Lift the mid-spine up and imagine that you are letting in light and it is flooding your insides. And then on the next breath, flip the spine and imagine that you are forming with your torso a cradle that will support you. And it's grounded on either end, on the bottom end through the legs, and on the top end through the arms. And go back and forth a couple of times. Breathing as you move and moving as you breathe. Good. All right, and then rooting into the legs and the feet, rise up, and then turn toward the short side of your mat, either side, and then reach forward. Take your hands all the way down, and you can, maybe they reach the floor, maybe you want blocks under the hands. Regardless, lift up the back heel, pivot on the toes, and drop the back knee to the ground. And now from here, climb your hands up onto your thigh and rise up through the torso. And also, if your knee is sensitive on the ground, you can put a layer of blanket or cushion underneath it. And on an inhale, reach up tall, lifting through the pinkies and the elbows. Add a little sense of a hammock shape. So the front of the body is open and presented forward and angled up. And the back of the body is creating a welcoming cradle. And then on the exhale, rounding like a rainbow, imagining light pouring in from behind. And inhale, back to the hammock shape, the extension of the spine from the base to the top, and rounding like the rainbow. And then one more time. And then reach the hands down. And so you can either switch legs from here and remain facing the same direction, or you can just turn around like I am. So now we've got the other knee forward in the lunge on the second side. And inhale, reach up and add extension, creating the shape of a cradle in hammock form. And then exhale, rounding like a rainbow. Imagining that you from the inside are reflecting the full spectrum of color through the light that's pouring in. And we, as human beings, do reflect the full spectrum of experience that's around us, the circumstances that are changing. And they don't always look like rainbows. Often they look like brutal storms. And so our choice is to acknowledge and choose skillful action, to make conscious and clear choices about how we will respond. One more time, rounding like the rainbow, and then arching forward, extending the spine into the cradle of the hammock, and then release the hands down. And now from wherever you are in the low lunge, take the front foot and step it back to table pose. And tuck your toes and lift your knees and stretch your hips and spine back into downward facing dog. And in dog pose too, we can shift this position of the spine. We can round it up and shift forward a little bit through the shoulders, lifting up high onto the toes. And then we can bend the knees a lot and sink the belly down and back toward the thighs, making a hammock shape inside of the dog structure, and go back and forth like that. There's no prohibition on the way your body moves. Any movement that is possible is natural for you. So explore all options. And not all movements are equal in terms of comfort and safety. So then you are choosing skillful action to pick the movements and the shapes that promote ease and steady structure and healthy range of movement.
Couple more times. Breathing in, breathing out. And then from your downward facing dog, bring your knees to the ground and drop your hips back into child's pose. And from child's pose, we can mimic these shifting shapes. With your arms extended forward, put a nice rounded rainbow starting from the mid spine, puffing up, curling the sitting bones underneath you a little bit. Curl the shoulder blades forward and out and down. And then switch it by walking your hands a little closer to you. And now lifting up from the sitting bones, dropping the mid spine down toward the floor. Lift your shoulder blades up, climbing them onto your upper back, propelling the heart forward and up a little bit. I call this curious child. And then walk hands forward and curl again from the opposite ends, making the rainbow shape. Walk the hands back, make the hammock shape. Do this a few more times. And after a few times, what's nice is that sometimes you notice, oh, my body's a little softer, a little more willing. And I notice that my rainbow is getting a little bigger, a little fuller, a little fluffier. And my hammock is getting even more welcoming, like the cradle that beckons me at the end of a long day. And then next time you've satisfied the movement in each direction, come all the way down onto your belly. You can walk the knees back, you can walk the hands forward, all the way down. And now bring your elbows forward so they're right under your shoulders. Upper arms straight up and down. And I've got my fingers laced together, pinkies pressing into the floor. Now from here, we're naturally already in a bit of a hammock shape. So there's extension in the spine just by virtue of propping ourselves up on the elbows. And so we can start from here and regard the grounded nature of the pelvis pressing into the floor and then extending that grounding energy through the legs all the way back through the tips of your toes. And now from here, we can affect a rainbow type of shape by lifting a little bit through the mid spine, lifting the pelvis a little bit away from the floor. Pull the shoulder blades away from each other so they start to move as if they're sliding off the edges of your upper back. And then back down, grounding the pelvis. Get both ends of the hammock poles rooted into the ground. And go back and forth like this. Breathing as you move, moving as you breathe. A few more times in each direction. And then release, come all the way down onto the chest. Turn your head to one side. Just take one full resting breath. And then turn your head to the other side. Same full resting breath. And then push yourself back up to table pose and bring one foot forward again. It doesn't matter which one. One foot forward. And now from here, open up into a twist. So you're turning toward the knee that's forward and extend the arm. And now in the twist, we can still move the spine like rainbows and hammocks. We can still affect a rounded shape on the back that allows light to pour in. And we can still affect a cradle shape on the front that opens the heart and extends the spine and creates a safe place to rest. One more time in each direction. And then you can step the foot back and the other foot forward, or you can turn around. And so with the new foot forward, turn your chest toward the knee that's in front, open up the arm, inhale, arch forward, the hammock beckons like a cradle, and exhale, round the mid-spine back. The rainbow is brilliant and luminous. The breath doesn't have a preference, so just breathe and acknowledge the grand majesty of this spirit that keeps us alive. And in this time of coronavirus, the profound gratitude for breath that comes easy. All right, step that foot back and now come to sit. And from your seated position, have one leg extended forward and the other knee bent out to the side. Turn and face the straight leg. Extend your arms up with a deep breath in and fold forward. And then puff up the back of the body, rounding like the rainbow. And now bring your hands behind your hips and puff up the front of the body. Create a supported, grounded hammock that's rooted at the base of the torso and that's rooted at the tops of the shoulders, dropping down through the arms. Back and forth a few times. Every shape is a new experience for the body in this particular moment. Because even if you've done it a million times before, you've never done it right now before. This is a beautiful teaching from Eric Schiffman. All right, come back to center. Switch your legs. Starting for the first rainbow, inhale, reach up. Exhale, extend forward over your straight leg and puff the spine backwards. Let light in. And then inhale, hands behind you. Puff the spine forward. Create a grounded, stable cradle for your being. Back and forth. Breathing. Moving with ease. Moving with sweet patience and gratitude. All right. And now come to cross your legs in front of you, a simple cross-legged seat. On an inhale, reach up. On an exhale, tip over to one side, reaching through the fingertips. And here, you won't be surprised to know that we can take a rainbow shape and we can take a hammock shape. Pay particular attention to the base of the spine at the sacrum and in your lower back so that when you move into one shape or another, it doesn't strain those sensitive ligaments, those places that connect the bones together. Where there's too much movement and not enough stability, there can be trouble. So move with caution, with care, with breath.
And then come back to center and tip over to the other side. Lengthening through the fingertips, rooting down through the opposite sitting bone. And then exhale as you round the mid-spine back, and inhale as you arch the mid-spine forward. Pay attention to every place in the body that makes itself known to you. And check in and ask, you good in there? You okay? Do you need anything? Do you need a little more breath? Do you need a little less movement? Do you need a little more strength? The body will tell you. It will tell you the truth if you're willing to hear it. And it will thank you for listening. And one more time, opening up and rounding back, and then come to center. Now switch the way your legs are crossed. Putting the other shin in front. Inhale, reach up tall. This time, a simple twist to one side. And a very subtle shifting between the hammock and the rainbow. Very subtle. And maybe it's so subtle that somebody watching you wouldn't know that you were doing anything at all. So I can feel a little bit of shifting in my spine, but it's not that obvious from the outside. So it's nice to be able to do things in the grand ways and in the small, subtle, silent ways, and everything in between. Come back to center. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, turn to the other side. And then make some larger movements with long, deep breaths. And then make some smaller movements. Subtle, sweet, quiet. And then gently turn back to center and close your eyes and just notice breath, notice sensation in the body, notice yourself in there, grateful, patient, relaxed. Notice yourself in there too if there's anxiety or fear or grief or anger. Notice all of those things together, like the full spectrum of color in a rainbow. We don't choose which colors we see, they're all there. We can't always choose the feeling that comes up, it's all there. We certainly can't choose the circumstance that arises. All we can do is decide how we will perceive them and how we will act in response. Bring your palms together at your heart. Many, many thanks for joining me today. Be safe, be healthy, be patient with each other, be kind, be at peace. Thank you. Namaste.